Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode here on Swish City. We're breaking down some NBA news. Now, we've been away for the last couple days, and unfortunately, I've been able to break stuff down, but I am back with a new little setup here using the monitor. We're going to be breaking down some NBA basketball, getting back into the swing of things on this channel. And today, I wanted to look at a team, as you guys could tell from the thumbnail, obviously from the title, one that not a lot of people are paying attention to, are watching, kind of under the radar, and a team that is very young and not projected to go really far, but a team that has a lot of young talent, a lot of young pieces that could be moved as well, and a lot of different directions that this team could go in. So we're going to be looking at the Portland Trailblazers as they come in today, being the team that we're going to be breaking down and looking at. From looking at this team and kind of looking at their star players, they've really transcended and taken off these last couple games with their obvious introduction of Shaden Sharp into this lineup. And Shaden Sharp has been absolutely fantastic for this Portland Trailblazers team in the games that he has been available to play. He's the leading scorer for this team so far, and he's shooting pretty solid as well. If we want to look at his shooting percentages, we can see he's shooting on 46% from the field, 31% from three, and 70% from the free throw. But Sharp, not notoriously known for his three-point shooting, more known for his slashing and scoring ability in the paint there for the Blazers. But he hasn't really been able to suit up for the Blazers much throughout his career due to injuries. But now he has been able to play with this team and kind of look as their nice young star to kind of build towards, which is very, very interesting. When looking at this Blazers team as well, like I mentioned, Sharp being their young talent that they're really investing in. There have been some other great blossoming pieces as well on the squad, most notably knowing with their big men and then just drafted in Donovan Clingan. Now, Clingan was selected with the Blazers' seventh overall pick in the draft this season. And Clingan, a player who kind of fell, a player who was highly regarded in this draft class, was not notoriously being scouted as a top pick and fell for the Blazers. And the Blazers got lucky as they wanted Klingon badly. But for the Blazers, they have a log jam of centers on this roster with other guys like Robert Williams III and DeAndre Ayton, newly acquired center being brought in last season. So the Blazers do have a log jam at that position as well. The Blazers also have had some very nice solid wings that have looked interesting this year. And in Jeremy Grant, Denny Avida, and Tumani Kamara. Now, Tumani Kamara has been kind of that diamond in the rough for this Blazers team, kind of doing it all for the squad. If you want to look at his stats, 9.1 points, which is absolutely fantastic, but playing as a solid rebounder, 5.3 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 1.7 steals, zero point 0.3 blocks, being that all-out defender that this Blazers team really lacks with their young core and what is necessarily needed for this young Blazers team as well. If we want to also look at some other players for their team, Denny Avida, new addition for this squad. A lot of people, including myself, were very high on his integration with this team. Hasn't really lived up to his best potential with this Blazers squad after a really solid season last year, but Avida is looking to have, a big season with this squad. Robert Williams has also emerged looking very solid as he has been healthy for this Blazers team in this five games he has played so far from being back for the Blazers with injury. He is averaging 11 points and 6.6 rebounds, with 1.2 assists and 1.2 blocks per game, 1.2 steals as well. Robert Williams is being noted as a player that could be on the trade market and a player that could be available as a backup center. And with teams like the Lakers and teams like the Kings being interested, I think this would be a very good movement for Robert Williams and for the Blazers to move off of one of their bigs and a player in Robert Williams who can be utilized as a backup center. And he has a little bit of a tradable contract as well. Now, Williams was being looked at last season, even though he was out for the full season. Teams looking to kind of get in on that capital a little bit early and save some money. But unfortunately for those teams, they weren't able to do so. Now Williams' price might be a little bit higher than last year, but for the Blazers, that is some good because they will be getting some much needed value for a player that they got in a trade that they got for Drew Holiday, when they realistically, just joined in on to be that third team to get rid of Damian Lillard. So for this Blazers squad, kind of moving off Malcolm Brogdon, getting Denny Avila, getting and giving up an additional pick is tough, but getting Denny Avila, and then also if they're able to move Robert Williams and get some extra draft capital, looking at that trade for acquiring Drew Holiday and looking at what you got back in return, Blazers fans can be happy. But Blazers fans also have had some nice blossoming players as well in Delano Banton, who came in from the Celtics last year at the trade deadline. He's really worked himself a role as a backup point guard, and unfortunately for the Blazers, player that hasn't shined the most is Scoot Henderson. But Henderson has been coming off the bench, hasn't been given the biggest leash with this Blazers squad. Could be said for his coaching staff, could be said for just how his product in play is. But unfortunately for the Blazers, Scoot hasn't looked like that blossoming third overall selection or possibly even second selection that a lot of people were hyping him up to be. And it's looking like Brandon Miller was not only the better fit, but the better selection for the Hornets. With Scoot can always bounce back, can always revitalize his career, and it could be a slow start for Scoot in his sophomore season. I definitely do not want to give up on him. But there are a lot of other players to talk about when looking at this team as well. The Blazers just have a lot of interesting topics with three players in Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, and DeAndre Ayton as well. Now, for Jeremy Grant, a player that is a little bit on the older side here for the Blazers, I could see them moving off of him at the deadline. He makes around $40 million a season, so it will be a little bit difficult to trade a contract like that, specifically when his shooting numbers are not the greatest, 38% from the field and 35% from three-point range. But for Grant, he's not getting the most opportunity in a young Blazers squad and could be used as, an additional third or fourth option for a championship team that is making that push. Simons as well has been a nice young guard for this team, but with the direction of this squad and how they really have been blossoming, Simons hasn't really taken over or been that lead guard that the Blazers kind of really saw when Damian Lillard went down and he really took over for Dame, which ultimately led the movement for them to keep in Simons and believe in Simons. And I think Simons' contract is a tradable one as well, could be utilized for this Blazers team around the deadline. And Ayton, one that is making a little bit of money, hasn't lived up to his production or style for this team. I think he's going to be stuck with this Blazers team alongside Clingan, as he's going to be a little bit more difficult to trade. We're looking down the list, guys like I mentioned, Chris Murray have looked solid, and Duop Reith, another player for this Blazers team who was very, very solid last year with this squad in this center rotation, just hasn't had that room to run. Obviously, the Blazers last season had no Robert Williams. They had DeAndre Ayton playing, so they needed a backup center. So Duop was a reliable backup. But now with Clingan inserted, with Williams inserted, with Ayton inserted, Duop has kind of fallen out of this rotation. So with the possibility of moving some of these bigs, maybe Duop gets some more extended run, which could be good for the Blazers, or possibly the Blazers could look to move off of Duop to then free him up and give him some opportunity elsewhere. As I believe with this Blazers team last season, obviously he was a rookie at 27, 28 years old, but still made a name for himself and solidified him a role on a pretty bad team. And even though that might be his best high ceiling, I still think that players like him could still reach that in the NBA on some of these worst rosters. Maybe a Brooklyn Nets, maybe a Washington Wizards. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, with the deadline moving pieces, we could see more contenders. We could see more guys go from bad teams to contenders to free up some of those spots for young guys to play. And maybe Duop could get one of those opportunities, similar to how Banton found a role in Portland here. But let me know what you guys think down below on the Portland Trailblazers. Like I said, they're a young, interesting team. Obviously, towards the bottom of the Western Conference. Not going to be a top-tier team. They're obviously got some rough patches to go through, but they have some tradable contracts. They do have some young players in Shaedon Sharpe and Donovan Clingan who are really, really exciting. And I do believe that this Blazers squad can put together a nice little kind of core for the future, the next couple of seasons if they build it up, and really shock a lot of people with some of these guys. If Shaedon can stay healthy, obviously, if Clingan can really develop into this center, Scoot can find his development as well, the Blazers can hit on some more little trades and picks. I think this Blazers team is going to be nice in the future, but they have some steals, they have some diamonds in the rough, and they also have some stars that are in the making. So let me know what you think down below on this Blazers team. How do you guys feel about them? If you're a Blazers fan and you're watching this video, let me know what you think. Did I nail this Blazers analyzation down? Did I get some things wrong? I'd love to hear you guys' critiques in the comments. Once again, you guys have been absolutely fantastic at showing your love and support over on the channel, so it's really, really appreciated. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day, Peace out.